Welcome to a debate in the Pittsburgh mayoral race featuring the Democratic candidates from the studio of KDKA-TV.
Hello and welcome to KDKA's debate between the Democrats running for mayor of Pittsburgh. I'm Ken Rice and I'll be serving as moderator. Let's welcome the candidates, Ed Gainey and Corey O'Connor. Mayor Gainey is the incumbent. He's 55, lives in Lincoln, Leamington, and is running for a second term. Mr. O'Connor is 40. He lives in Point Breeze and is currently serving as Allegheny County Controller. I'll be joined in questioning the candidates by Lisa Smith, KDKA's Director of Community Impact, and John Shumway, my fellow KDKA news anchor. Here are the rules for the debate. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer our questions, then 30 seconds for rebuttals to their opponent's answers. The questioners may jump in with follow-ups from time to time. When we do, we'll make sure the response times are fair. And finally, each candidate will get 90 seconds to deliver a closing statement. And so let's begin. And Mayor Gainey, this question goes first to you. Very simply, why do you want to continue to be mayor of Pittsburgh, and what is the single biggest reason someone should vote for you?
You know what, I want to thank you for having me today. I appreciate KDKA having me. The reason why I want to be mayor is because I love the progress that we made. When we came into the city, we knew that we were coming into a great deal of situations. And I believe that we showed the resilience to be able to solve a lot of them. But we couldn't do it without the people of the public. So here's why you should vote for me for mayor. Built more affordable housing in my first term than any mayor in the last 20 years. Made sure that our bridges are no longer falling down and they're in stable condition. Reduced homicides by 33% and gun violence by 45%. Making sure our comprehensive plan is able to meet the moment of the time, but making sure that we do climate resiliency to ensure that our city is safe. Investing in our youth, making sure that our youth has a seat at the table so that they understand that tomorrow's future is theirs. Vote for Ed Gainey and we'll continue to create a city for all.
Mr. O'Connor, why do you want to be mayor of Pittsburgh, and what is the most important reason in your view people should vote for you?
Yes, and thank you for having us. I want to be the mayor of this city because I believe our city is at a stalemate. We are going to be under 300,000 people. We are managing our decline right now instead of talking about opportunities to grow our region, and it's all around us. When we see vacancy downtown, when we see vacant spaces in our neighborhoods, in our business district, that is opportunity to grow Pittsburgh again. As a lifelong Pittsburgher, I'm emotional about this city because I know we have better days ahead of us, and we just need direction and leadership. Somebody who's going to take accountability for decisions that are made, not blame people of the past, and be proactive to solve solutions that are affecting each and every one of us, like affordable housing, like being able to create your own wealth and opportunity in our city, and also to ensure that families have a safe neighborhood to grow in. And I believe that every neighborhood in this city can achieve that. We just need direction at the top to do it.
Mr. Gainey, 30 seconds. Is the city lacking direction at the moment?
Not at all. I mean, if you look at the direction that we have, 1,600 units are delivered of affordable housing. Homicides down by 33%. Downtown, $600 million in investment of downtown. That's progress. That's called pro-growth. That's pro-development. When you talk about 12 low-income tax credit deals from around this city that we're building more affordable housing, we're building a city for everybody, because I believe that at the end of the day, everybody deserves affordable housing, and we will continue to do that.
Mr. O'Connor, 30 seconds.
Yes, I mean, we've heard the numbers and we debate it all the time, but you know, to say that this administration built more affordable housing than prior is just incorrect. And we know that, and the facts show that. We need 6,000 affordable units, but not only affordability, we need safety. We need leadership. We still don't have a chief of police. We can't have somebody that's not being transparent with the agreements that they make with our chief of police. We need somebody that's going to be transparent about the budget crisis that we are walking ourselves into. And that's what leadership is, being transparent about the issues that we see each and every day in our city.
Okay, we're going to get into many of these issues here tonight, but I want to move on right now to something that actually was mentioned, homicides. And there was some welcome news for the city last year. Homicides in Pittsburgh were down from 53 in 2023 to 42 in 2024. But with falling murder rates in many cities, Boston really shows what's possible. With twice the population of Pittsburgh, Boston had just 37 murders in 2023. Last year, only 24 murders for an entire year in a city that's twice as big as Pittsburgh. What do you know? Mr. O'Connor, this goes to you first. What do you know about what's working in Boston, and is there something stopping Pittsburgh from reducing numbers that far?
Well, I mean, first of all, it comes with Boston probably has a full-time chief of police. You know, we need somebody that's leading that department, that's going to invest in public safety. We are on our 5th chief of police in 3 years. That's unacceptable. There's no leadership for the men and women who represent our police force at night. When you have a backroom deal with the chief of police that allows your chief to be miles away refereeing basketball, that's not leadership. You're not investing in public safety. And not only that, we know that other crime statistics in our city are through the roof. Last year, car break-ins were almost at 1,000. And you know how many officers we have working those cases? 1. We know that there are arson cases and vandalism cases that are through the roof right now. It comes to stability in a police force. Community policing is a main driver of how we can turn this around, but we need a mayor and we need a chief of police who's going to actually be full-time so that they can focus on community policing.
Mr. Gainey, Mayor Gainey, what do you know about what's working in Boston, and why can't Pittsburgh reduce its numbers that low?
You know, I think Pittsburgh's on the way of doing that. You know, when I came in, we had 71 murders. As you heard, we're down to 42 murders. That's an amazing decrease in the amount of homicides that we had in the city. And we are working every day to make sure that we have less homicides. The one thing I hear when I'm going around to these neighborhoods and the people are talking to me, because I'm always out in these neighborhoods talking to them, what they want to know is, one, how you going to keep my neighborhood safe, how you going to keep me safe, and how you going to keep our children safe. Last year, between the ages of 13 and 17 in 2024, we had no homicides amongst our youth. That's something we should celebrate, because if we can keep gun violence down with our youth, by the time they're 27, they're not trying to pick up a gun. And that's why we've been laser focused on what we do with our youth, by creating the Youth Civic Leadership Program that keeps youth in structured activities. Because at the end of the day, the more we invest in our youth, the more that we do to keep guns out of their hands, the more that we do to use community policing in order to make our community safe by getting out and talking to neighborhood leaders, community leaders, and business leaders. Together, we work together to drive down crime.
Mr. O'Connor, 30 seconds.
Yes, again, you could look at any stat, but people in our city don't feel safe. Last night, there was a shooting at a Little League game in Brookline. You know, things like that are occurring way too often in our city, and we need community policing, and again, it starts with leadership. We have to invest in our public safety departments. We are down to 650 officers when we should be at 850 and above. That's got to be the focus. We have to focus on recruiting and leadership in our public safety department so that everybody feels safe in our city.
Mayor Gainey, 30 seconds.
Yes, thank you. We went 2 years without hiring one police officer. He should know, he was on council. He knows that. But the reality is, when we came into office, we opened up the police academy. We put on 4 or 5 classes. We did the first contract in the last 20 years so that the police would actually have a pay raise. We stopped over-policing in black and brown communities so that we can have better relationships. And last night, let me speak to the community of Brookline. If anybody knows anything, you know how I feel about gun violence. I want to end every gun violence in this city. If there's anything you know about what happened last night, please let us know.
Time is up. Thank you, Mayor Gainey. Next question is from my colleague, Lisa Smith.
Yes, gentlemen, we are going to continue with the theme of safety, and this is to you, Mayor Gainey. U.S. News and World Report ranks Pittsburgh 23rd for quality of life and 36th for the best place to live. But perception is reality. The perception is downtown is dangerous and crime is high. Is it? If so, how do you plan to make it safer? And if you don't believe that's the case, how do you plan to change the perception that downtown Pittsburgh isn't safe?
Great question. And, you know, great question. And at the end of the day, what we have to do is we have to continue to invest in downtown. We got $600 million from the state because we put a plan together in my office to be able to take to the state, and Governor Shapiro gave us $600 million for 10 years. We have to reinvest in the fabric of downtown. We got 7 conversions where we're taking real estate, commercial real estate offices, and turn them into affordable housing. We're reinvesting in the infrastructure of what we have downtown. We just broke ground with the cultural district on 8th Street to create a public space. We need more housing downtown. That's why I've been so laser focused on affordable housing. The more housing we have downtown, the more people that we have walking downtown, the more people that we have engaged downtown, that's how we're going to change the perception around. There's no question it's safe downtown. You ask the restaurants, they're booked Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The arts culture, if you ask them, the shows are back. People are walking the streets downtown. But we need housing downtown. We need affordable housing. And that's what we've been focused on, and we will continue to focus on it so that we can repopulate downtown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. O'Connor, same question.
Yeah, so back to policing. The mayor's first year, there was money for 2 police classes that they ignored. That's a whole year without going with 2 classes. But let's talk about downtown. We all know that it's a comfort level downtown right now, that people don't feel safe. So how do you make it more vibrant? Yes, we need affordable units downtown, but not every building can be converted to affordable housing downtown. So we have to look at using these empty spaces completely differently. We have to partner with great partners like we should be doing right now with Point Park University to bring more students downtown, to make it more vibrant. Looking at our vacant spaces, I was at Art All Night last week. There are artists and musicians who have the ability to fill in these vacant spaces because they want to be creative in those downtown areas, in those spaces, so that we can make downtown more vibrant again. I know that there's, $31 million going to that new park, but $31 million, let's think about that. For a couple of pickleball courts, how many people's lives could we have helped who are unhoused right now in this city? That's where we have to make our priorities, sir.
Thank you. Rebuttal, 30 seconds.
We have to continue to invest in downtown. And the way that you continue to invest in downtown is affordable housing, housing across the spectrum. Because if we're going to repopulate downtown, if we're going to do a great job of making sure that we repopulate it, we have to have people living here. That's the reality. When you look across other major cities, they have housing downtown. We want housing. We want our students to live down here. We want our service workers to live down here. We want to make it affordable so that everybody feels that they have a place in this city. And that's what we've been doing, making sure we invest in downtown to bring the population back.
Thank you. 30 seconds, Mr. O'Connor.
Yes, again, we all agree to build housing downtown, but not every building can be converted to that. So why are we not looking at these buildings completely differently? Can they create clean energy for our environment? Can they produce light manufacturing? Let's use these spaces entirely differently. We cannot convert every building downtown to housing. I would love to do that. The mayor would love to do that. But the reality is not every building can be converted to that. So let's think outside the box at a better use for those buildings to help everybody in our region.
All right, we're going to move to the next question, John.
All right, gentlemen, we tout the meds and eds of Pittsburgh, and for good reason. They are a selling point for Pittsburgh, but they also sit on millions of dollars of tax-exempt property. Now, this isn't unique to Pittsburgh. For instance, Providence, Rhode Island found a solution, a 20-year deal with their universities and colleges, including Brown University, that nets the city $11 million a year. Baltimore has a deal. New Haven has a deal. Other communities have found agreements with their nonprofits. So the question is, have you studied what these other communities have done and what's working there? Are there lessons learned there that you can bring to Pittsburgh in order to get Pitt, CMU, Duquesne, Highmark, UPMC to the table to come up with a solution? And the first question that goes to you, Mr. O'Connor.
Yes, right now there is $0 committed to that. Our nonprofits have to pay their fair share. We all agree with that, but we need a different approach. If you look back at the history of our city, Mayor Murphy sat down, negotiated a pilot agreement. Mayor Ravenstall had a lawsuit that I was part of while I was on council, brought back $0. We're currently in a lawsuit that's losing us tax revenue. Mayor Peduto had $115 million committed from the nonprofits that this administration turned down. $115 million that went to housing, that went to green infrastructure. It takes leadership to sit down and negotiate. The nonprofits are not just going to give you a check to fill in our budget crisis. They're going to give us money that's going to support each and every resident. I would ask them directly for investment in our ambulances, for one example. Imagine if they gave us money to buy new ambulances. That would save the city capital and fits the mission of the larger hospital nonprofits, and we can do that with cooperation.
All right, thank you. Mayor Gainey.
Our taxpayers, I want to thank you because you pay your taxes. Our taxpayers don't have the option to be able to determine what taxes they want to pay. We have a giant tax-exempt organization like UPMC who has not paid their fair share nor have come to the table. They've asked us to set up meetings, we set them up. We have Highmark that is saying that if UPMC and others at the table are ready to do a deal. We have continued to reach out and do what we need to do. And that's why we can't take the lawsuit off the table. My opponent was for the lawsuit until a couple of board members and executives started donating to his campaign. After that, it changed the way he's seen it. The only time I've seen UPMC even come to the table and do any type of deal is when Governor Shapiro, then Attorney General, filed a lawsuit against them, and then they came to the table and they did a deal. That's the way we're going to get it done. No business is going to give you money just out of the kindness of their heart. If that was the case, we would have already had the deal. We will continue to work to ensure we are doing what's right for our taxpayers.
All right, thank you. Rebuttal, Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, I mean, to not set up a meeting and everybody works within a couple blocks downtown is shame on us. But also, you talk about a lawsuit. They should pay their fair share. The mayor was a state rep for many years and never introduced a bill to change the nonprofit status at the State House. And he talks about individuals that donated to me. Let me be direct on who those individuals are. The individuals that he's talking about are doctors, especially one like Dr. Stanley Marks, who's been a family doctor of my family my entire life. He was my father's cancer doctor. Yes, Stanley Marks donates to me because Stanley Marks has helped a number of people in this region fight cancer.
Thank
and
you,
I will take a donation from him because he is a pillar in this community.
All right, rebuttal, 30 seconds.
We will continue to do what's necessary to get our nonprofits to pay their fair share because the burden shouldn't be on taxpayers. At the end of the day, they have a right to be able to pay their fair share, and we will continue to go through the appeal process until we get a deal. And secondly, let me be clear. I am not that heartless to ever talk about a doctor or anybody else giving donations.
Who's on the list?
The reality of the situation is you can check for yourself. I'm talking about UPMC board members and executives that have donated to his campaign, and that's why he changed his language in regards to the lawsuit, period.
Gentlemen, thank you.
I have the next question. Mayor Gainey, goes to you first. Ambulances are breaking down. Fire trucks are breaking down. If you go down to the city garage, there's a waiting list. Those aren't my words. That's City Controller Rachel Heisler last week. And she went further. She said the money budgeted to upgrade the fleet isn't nearly enough. This is really about as basic as it gets when it comes to delivering city services, saving lives. Mr. Gainey, you've been the mayor since 2022. How did you let it get this bad?
Well, one, let me thank Rachel for what she put out there, because what else was said is that this has been decades and decades of disinvestment in public works. And we knew when we came in that we had a fleet problem because of the disinvestment in public works. Now, when you think about the decades and decades, what else it says from another TV station is that in 2023, we invested more money in our fleet, 121 vehicles we bought, more than any time in the last 2 decades. We are laser focused about improving what was already there. We didn't create the situation of disinvestment. We didn't do that. But what we are doing is we're changing it. The investments that we made are investments that haven't been made in 2 decades. So when you think about coming in, our fleets didn't get in this type of condition over 3 years. Your car doesn't get in that condition over 3 years. It's taken decades and decades for this to get there. And my opponent knows that. He was on council for 10 years when the disinvestment was happening. What we've done is continue to invest 121 vehicles in the years that I was here.
Mr. O'Connor, the mayor's right. You served a decade on city council until 2022. How did you let it get this bad?
Well, so when I left city council, we got out of Act 47, our budget was in great shape, and we had $340 million of COVID relief money. Where did the money go? I haven't been on council in 3 years. Where did your money go? That money should have been invested in ambulances, in services that actually do the basics. Where did we spend our money, everybody? I'd like to know as well. We are going over a financial crisis right now. We are hitting that within the next year, and this administration isn't even taking accountability for it. $340 million. You know where some of it went? Hiring 100 employees. And guess what? That money's gone. How are we going to pay those employees at the end of the year? When I was on city council, we fought to get out of Act 47 so that we could change contracts and pay our public works, public safety officials who work each and every day to save lives and keep our city clean. We got out of Act 47 so that they could make the money to afford to live in this city again. That's leadership.
Time's up. Mr. Gainey, 30-second rebuttal.
Again, there's rhetoric and there's action. That's rhetoric. What I've demonstrated is action that we've taken. In 2023, we've purchased over 121 vehicles for our fleet. And we understand that that's only a snapshot, but that's more than they've done in 2 decades. So I'm not here to talk about rhetoric. I'm here to talk about what we've accomplished. And that's what we've accomplished. We've invested $40 million, $20 million from our ARPA funds and $20 million from our general account to make sure that we're purchasing the type of fleet that we need to grow. That's number one. So when we talk about what we've done, that's the difference.
Mr. O'Connor, you get a rebuttal?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to say we've heard 3.5 years of rhetoric. Where's the action? This past year, a third of our fleet vehicles were in the shop. We were renting vehicles to plow your streets. $340 million of COVID money that was supposed to be invested in those things. It went to hiring people that we can't pay for next year. That's the action. It's all rhetoric right now. We have to change course because we have to invest in the basics, and we're not doing that. Even our parks tax money doesn't go to our parks anymore.
Next question from John Shumway.
You know, there's little doubt the police presence is a deterrent. I mean, just look what's happened on the South Side since more officers showed up on Fridays and Saturday nights on the South Side. But the police ranks, which were at 900 in 2019 and have been on a decline ever since. And Mr. O'Connor, you were in City Council when that was going on, and of course it has continued into your administration. With 100 officers retiring or resigning just in the last year, I think, Mr. O'Connor, you said the number was 650. We'll go with that for now. 650 officers on the street. Once you get in sick and illness and everything else, you don't have that many police officers to cover it. So the question is, how many officers will you commit to getting on the streets of Pittsburgh? And I want to hear a number of how many you think we can get, how soon it will happen, and how will you restore an image of strength and comfort for the people who live in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I think the mayor and I actually agree. It's about 850. And the comfort level comes back to supporting them at the top levels of our police force, hiring a full-time chief of police so that our officers know what shifts they're working. They could be working 8, 10, 12s. They don't know right now because there's no clear direction. We also have a facility that we can use, and I know that there's money in the budget 2 years from now, at Highland Drive that we purchased from the federal government for $1 to invest in new training for our officers, for current and then hopefully future. But we have to start recruiting. A lot of other cities have gotten through the recruiting process a lot quicker than we have. And we have to look at other models where they've been able to get to 800 plus officers again. Because this is happening all over, but Pittsburgh is drastic. We have a small town force set up for a whole big city, and that has to change.
Mayor.
Yes, I want to thank you for the question. When we came into office, we had went 2 years without hiring one police officer. And why that was so critical was because it didn't take an account for the amount of officers that was going to retire. So we got to work right away. We opened up, we went around and talked to every zone in this city. We talked to major crimes. We opened up the academy. We had four or five police recruit classes already. We changed the 60 credits so that at the end of the day, you don't need 60 credits to become a police officer. We did the first contract in over 20 years with our police officers to show them dignity and respect. We got a disciplinary matrix put into it so that if you do this, here's your penalty. If we wouldn't have had 2 years of no recruiting, then we would have been okay. He knows that. He was on council. The reality is we are cleaning up the mess that we inherited. And we don't make no discrimination. We don't talk about it. We don't cry about it. We just do it. Listen, Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, I'm proud of you. 33% reduction in homicide and 45% gun violence down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. O'Connor, a rebuttal?
Yes, I was on City Council, and I was there when the mayor started for a few months. And we had money that first year for 2 classes. There were no classes put on that first year. That's troubling. You know, all we do is talk about the past, the past, the past. Let's start taking accountability and push towards a future where we talk about investment in our public safety. And we're not doing that enough right now. We're not investing in the future of public safety, and we all know that.
Mayor, 30 seconds.
Again, I'm concerned about that. He said, let's forget the past. We wouldn't be here if the past wasn't what it was. If we'd have been recruiting police officers, we wouldn't be in this situation. And so if we never want to go down this road again and we never want to make this mistake, we can't forget the past. We got to learn from the past. And that's why we've been so ambitious. We got a full-time recruitment officer that is doing it with help. We've put out videos and we're continuing to create instruments to get people to become police officers. We're not going to forget the past. We're just not going to make the same mistake.
Quick follow-up, gentlemen, and I want to find out how you feel about this. Suburban police departments are full of police officers who have on their resume former Pittsburgh police officer.
Right.
So, Mr. O'Connor, how do you hang on to the officers you train and keep in the city of Pittsburgh?
Again, we have to show them leadership, that we are investing in those officers. I don't want to forget about the past, but the past shows that you did not put 2 classes on when you could have. Our officers are not trusting the system because they have no clear direction. We do not have a chief of police. How do you go in that morning and know what you're doing when there's no chief of police in this city? And I always love this response. The mayor says, well, nobody asked me about the chief. Yeah, because there is no chief. That's the problem. We have to focus on leadership in this city so that our officers stay, and even the ones that left might want to come back if they have direction.
Mayor, how do you hang on to the officers you train?
That was one of the positive things we did in the last CBA that we did with the police. We made sure that we gave them a pay increase. It was the first pay increase that they had in over 20 years. That is significant. That is meaningful because we didn't have to go to arbitration to do it. What we did was we put it into the CBA that they would get a pay raise. And we're very proud of that. We also made sure that we had a disciplinary matrix to say, if you do this, this would be the discipline. We continue to invest in our police. I'm proud of them and they know it. I'm one of the only mayors that goes around and talks to everybody in the zone just to be able to get updates.
All right. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Mayor Gainey, I want to pick up on the issue of the police chief. So your last nominee for that position, Christopher Ragland, ended up quitting the force citing political pressure. Okay, so voters have to have transparency to understand their government. It's their government. They need to understand what's happening. So tell us, in plain words, what exactly happened with Chief Ragland and what will be different with your next nominee?
Chief Ragland was 100% wanting to be the chief of police. Chief Ragland met with a couple of council people who told him that if you want my vote, then I want you to put 1 or 2 people in as assistant chief. Chief Ragland thought that that was wrong. He thought it was a quid pro quo. He was not comfortable with it. He said this in his own words when he was doing his exit interview, and I thought it was wrong. There is no reason for any council people to go up to a chief of police who is coming around talking about being chief, asking him that if you want my vote, here's what you have to do. That's what happened. And that's why morally he couldn't deal with it. He said, this is not what I signed up for. I just want to do the job. We will work with council and our advocates as we did the first time to get a chief of police that is right for this city.
Thank you, Mayor Gainey. Mr. O'Connor, is that your understanding of what happened with Chief Ragland?
You know, I can't speak for what happened with council members. I'm not on council anymore, but I will tell you that
You have supporters on
yeah, so I will tell you that every city council member will always vote 9-0 for a chief of police. We've never seen a vote not go 9-0. So for Chief Ragland to say that was an issue, that he didn't want to be interviewed or have a public process, we should have a public process to interview our chiefs of police. The last one lied to us with the mayor that he was going to go out and referee basketball and be hundreds of miles away. So Chief Ragland, I don't know to the extent of what council members were talking about, but city council members, I would be shocked if it was not going to be a 9-0 vote. And you have to have a public process now because the last chief lied to us and bumped up his pension in a backroom deal so he could referee Big Ten basketball hundreds of miles away. So there needs to be a structure to hold the mayor and the chief of police accountable that they are actually going to be full-time and work in this city, because right now we don't have that.
Mayor Gainey, is his description of what happened with Chief Scarrato correct?
Absolutely not.
What part of it was wrong?
For one, there was never no backroom deal. When Chief Scarrato asked me if he could referee, I told him no during his interview process. We did want to be with 21 Policing. When they offered him a contract, he came to me and said, I think that we can run this program right now. And if we run this program, we can take kids that's on the cutting edge of doing something, and we can introduce them to college life and exposure. And I won't take no city time, nor my personal time. That's what occurred. But the reason why Chief left is that he had a partner that his job was removed, and he had to go back to Texas. And the chief decided to go with him. He left because he was following his partner back to Texas.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard so many stories. We know it's a backroom deal. The chief, if you look at where he came from, there was an audit before that showed when he was a chief in Florida, he was out refereeing. It's a backroom deal, and they got caught. They got caught on the Big Ten Network refereeing a basketball game. That's not transparency. We need leadership and transparency and somebody to take accountability, because we all know that's a backroom deal. If you come to city council and you lie to council members and you lie to the public, that is when you get caught and say it's not a backroom deal, and it blatantly was a backroom deal.
Lisa Smith has the next question.
All right, so we're shifting to another topic. The number of people experiencing homelessness gets a lot of attention here in Pittsburgh, from the large porta potties to the tent encampments. However, there may be a symptom of a larger problem, and that's Pittsburgh's poverty rate. Currently, 19.5% of Pittsburghers live in poverty according to the U.S. Census. While some peer cities do have higher poverty rates, several others are lower. Columbus, 17.8%. Indianapolis, 15.7%, and Nashville, 14.9%. Mr. O'Connor, to you first. Does Pittsburgh have a poverty problem, and what is your remedy to solve it?
Yes, we definitely have a problem, and it's also, supporting our unhoused population. Over these past few months, as county controller, visited shelters. I went to a shelter, a veteran shelter, where an individual I see each and every day working in the county courthouse came up to me and started crying, because that individual has a job and is still homeless right now. And he was crying because he was embarrassed that he was getting support that he deserves. And I think that's the approach we have to take to help remedy this situation. We cannot continue to move people around this city who are unhoused. We have to ensure that they have access to health care, that they have access to social workers so that they can get a leg up. But it also comes down to, I know this is about poverty levels, it also comes down to housing. We know we need new affordable housing. We also know that we need transitional housing. We also have to talk about creating jobs and opportunities so that individuals can grow their own wealth in our city.
Thank you. Mayor, your response.
We've had a poverty situation for a long time. And the one thing that I did when I came in was I said that we will work with our unsheltered advocates to make sure that we create dignity and respect and make sure that they are in places where they are safe. And I want to thank our unsheltered advocates for all the help that they've given us. I appreciate you. We've done some incredible work together. We've made sure that we cleaned up the encampments downtown. We couldn't have done it without you. We've cleaned up the trails on the North Shore. Again, we couldn't have done it without you. The Eliza Furnace Trail, we couldn't have done it without you. I appreciate all the work that you've helped us do to make sure that unsheltered community had respectable housing that they could be in. When I came in, they just wanted me to get rid of them, put them in jail, and I said, no, that's not how we're going to show dignity and respect. We have to show dignity and respect by making sure that we do what's necessary to demonstrate to them a humanitarian cause and a humanitarian purpose on why it's so important for us to treat them with respect. And that's why we boosted the Office of Community Health and Safety to deal with our unsheltered population.
Thank you. 30 seconds, Mr. O'Connor.
Yeah, so what we also did over the past few years was cut $10 million for homelessness assistance. There was a program called the Roots Program that should have 6 hubs all across the city of Pittsburgh that was cut by this administration. That was going to be social workers in your community, providing social service as well as mental health support for individuals in need. And we're down to 1 station now. Started with 3, 2 closed, we're down to 1. I'm committed to opening all 6 of those back up, because that's how you do outreach. You're in the community, you're having presence in our neighborhoods to help our most needy.
30 seconds.
See, this is what I'm talking about, rhetoric versus action. You have to know how to read the budget, and the county controller should know that. We had a contract that was going to be with Highmark for $10 million for homeless services. We pulled the money back in and we ran it through the Office of Community Health and Safety because we believe that we can execute better at that level. And here's what we did. For an example, we hired social workers, substance abuse experts, and mental health experts. So when a police officer goes to the scene, we coordinated the efforts for our police to go to the scene. If the police is, if the scene is clear of no violence, we send a social worker out there to help them so that they don't have to worry about going to jail. That's what you call dignity and respect.
Okay.
All right, we need to pause right now for a quick break. More of KDKA's debate between the Democratic candidates for mayor of Pittsburgh right after this. Welcome back to KDKA's debate in the race for mayor of Pittsburgh, featuring the Democratic candidates, incumbent Ed Gainey and challenger Corey O'Connor. And our next question comes from my colleague Lisa Smith.
Gentlemen, when we left, we were talking about poverty. Our next question is, there are people living in Pittsburgh right now who feel that reaching the American dream of home ownership is unattainable. They either don't make enough money, they can't save enough money, or they can't keep up with the rising costs and rising interest rates. So to you, Mayor Gainey, the question is, what can you do, if elected mayor, to make home ownership attainable in Pittsburgh?
You know, Lisa, that's a good question because I come from underserved communities that experience this all the time. I was raised in Section 8, so I get it. I didn't grow up owning a home. So when we came into office, we made sure we funded Own PGH, and we've turned low-income renters, 150, let me be clear, 150 low-income renters into homeowners. And we will refund it again because I believe that if you want to demonstrate, particularly the families and our children, that they can live the American dream, it is major that they understand wealth, how to generate wealth through home ownership. I'm very proud of that record. Let me repeat that. 150 low-income renters we've turned into homeowners in this city. 80% is women. And I am happy about that right there because their children get to see something different. They're not growing up in poverty. They're growing up with the ability to understand generational wealth. And that's how we change the mindset.
Mr. O'Connor, your answer.
Yes, I mean, home ownership we know is the key to creating generational wealth, and that's important to each and every Pittsburgher. But we are short units. We are short 6,000 affordable units. The city of Pittsburgh owns 11,000 parcels. Those sites need to be shovel-ready so that community organizations have the ability to rebuild their own neighborhoods. And then from there, we have to ensure that there are tax credit services so that we can bridge gaps in funding so that community organizations and nonprofits that build affordable housing have the ability to do it. And we also have to look at programs that we don't talk enough about. There was a program when I was on council that was cut by this administration called Guaranteed Income. It was $500 a month to women-run households in low and moderate income neighborhoods. Think about why we would cut that. That makes no sense. That's $500 a month for women-run households to get a head start, and we cut that program. Those are programs that impact us every day, and we have to support projects like that.
Mr. Mayor, your response.
Again, this is the difference between rhetoric and action. The question was, how do we create home ownership for people that have experienced poverty? And I've given you a clear definition of how we did that. Through Own PGH, we've turned 150, mainly women, into homeowners so that their children can see generational wealth. That's not talking, that's actually doing something to change the dynamic of families. That's, as government, what we should do. We should always make sure we're doing that.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, response.
Yes, Own PGH was actually done by the prior administration because it was money that was set aside through COVID relief money, the same as the guaranteed income conversation that I just had. So those programs are needed, but they didn't start under this administration. And what we have to do is use our spaces so that we can create generational wealth through home ownership programs. We don't do that enough, and we have vacancies and opportunities to do it all over Pittsburgh because I believe everybody should have the ability to live in each and every neighborhood in Pittsburgh.
John.
Gentlemen, let's talk about Pittsburgh's neighborhoods for a minute because so many people who live in Pittsburgh's neighborhoods feel like they play second fiddle to the downtown core, to the big businesses, to the big community events. The best example right now is the NFL draft that's coming. Neighborhoods have critical issues: sanitation, dealing with blight, getting dilapidated homes torn down, good streets, feeling like the city is responsive to their needs. So, Mr. O'Connor, what would be your priority in the city neighborhoods to improve the quality of Pittsburgh residents' lives?
Well, first, it's invest. I mean, we took $6 million and did a comprehensive plan. That's $6 million that could have been spent in your community, demoing houses, making sure that our water fountains are turned on in playgrounds, filling in your potholes. The bigger problem that we have to have a conversation about is the budget crisis that is looming in this city, to where we run out of money in the next year and a half, and this administration isn't even being transparent to talk about that. So if you want to invest in communities, let's stop hiring out-of-state contractors to come in and analyze Pittsburgh. If you don't know Pittsburgh by now, that each neighborhood is different and unique and each market is different and unique, then you shouldn't be running the city. That $6 million could have been spent on you and your community, and yet it was wasted on another study. We can't continue to waste our money. As the county controller, I see where cuts need to be made so that we can stretch every single dollar so it impacts you in your neighborhood. And we're not doing enough of that right now.
Thank you. Mayor, what would you do for the neighborhoods?
You asked a good question, and this is what we've done for the neighborhoods. We went out and got 12 low-income tax credit deals in 2 rounds. First time ever that we got 12 low-income tax credit deals in 2 rounds to be able to invest in Pittsburgh neighborhoods. Whether that was the money that we used from the $30 million affordability bond that we got to be able to close the gap in the houses that we just built in Allentown, the $50 million we got working with Congresswoman Lee to redo Bedford dwellings. In about a couple months, we're going to break ground on new housing in Homewood, Brushing because of one of the low-income tax credit deals. This is actually doing it. This is not talking about it. This is actually This is actually putting our money where our mouth is. $600 million for downtown to convert commercial office space into affordable housing. We have done so much. 37 million of our federal funds going to preservation and new construction of housing, of affordable housing, and we will continue to invest in our neighborhoods. We will continue to make sure.
Thank you, Mayor. 30 seconds, Mr. O'Connor.
Yes, I mean, the question's about neighborhoods. In the South and the West, they're still constructing a 4th division. Why is that not constructed? That's where Public Works can get to you faster, to plow your streets, to fix those potholes. The 4th division is still under construction. But let's talk about neighborhoods and small businesses. In the South Hills alone, last year, this is something we don't talk enough about. There were 40 new companies started and businesses started in the South Hills by our immigrant population that moved to Pittsburgh. That's how we're going to sell Pittsburgh, so that everybody has the ability to live here.
Mayor, you have 30 seconds.
And the reason why we need a comprehensive plan is just because of the storm that we just came through. We have to be climate resilient, and we need a comprehensive plan to be able to discuss exactly how we're going to deal with the change of climate that we're seeing right now. If we're going to change climate change, then we need to change the climate. And this is what the plan will do. It'll talk about climate resiliency and land use and infrastructure, where we can build housing, where we can't build housing, commercial development. Because if we have a plan like other cities have about how we respond to natural disasters, we will be more prepared when the storm comes.
All right, time now for another quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. Next question, John Shumway.
You know, look around downtown, look around Pittsburgh, and you see a lot of post-pandemic empty space, and the city's finances are suffering because of it. So, Mayor Gainey, what can turn this around? And should the mayor of Pittsburgh be a salesperson, a cheerleader out there trying to actively get people to come?
One, thank you for the question. That's why it was important when I came in that we created a relationship. There was no relationship with the business community when I first became mayor. The first thing we did is start working with the business community and as well as the county exec to create a plan in my office in which we took to the state and introduced to Governor Shapiro. Governor Shapiro gave us $600 million for over 10 years to be able to reinvest in our downtown fabric. We've done that within the last 3 years. So yes, we need to be cheerleaders, absolutely. We also need to be able to bring investment here. That $600 million will help convert commercial real estate spaces into affordable housing. It will also help us to do other things like reimagine Market Square, reimagine reimagine Mellon Square as we continue to focus on developing our downtown corridor and bringing people back downtown, so we're repopulating it through housing. And that don't mean every building has to be housing, but housing has to be the driving force to ensure that we're repopulating our downtown community.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, I mean, the mayor should be all three. You represent the city on a national level, and you are the anchor in this region. So we have to start selling our city again. And it goes to not just selling it for rehabs for buildings downtown just for housing, because we are going to be, the next census, we're going to be under 300,000 people. So we have to go outside of our city limits to invite people, make Pittsburgh a welcoming place so that young entrepreneurs, young artists, young musicians, young startup companies can build right here in Pittsburgh. We know that the next wave of technology is AI, and we know that Pitt, CMU, and Duquesne are going to have large spin-off companies that come from those universities. They should be talked to right now about using our space downtown, because we know that that not only creates jobs for those individuals, but for every tech job spins off 3 to 4 other jobs that are going to create wealth and opportunity in our city. So the mayor is the leader of the entire region to talk about a vision of how we're going to use that space differently.
Mr. Mayor, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, again, it goes back to exactly what I talked about. If you talk to young professionals, they're not going to move downtown and have to pay $1,500 for a 1-bedroom. That's not what they want to do. They graduated from college, they're starting their family, they're starting out in their career. That's why I keep saying that the #1 driving force to get people back downtown is affordable housing. It's worked in other cities and it's going to work here. We can attract artists, we can attract everybody, but we can only attract them if we have the affordability that gives them the ability to want to live downtown because they believe it's right for them.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, 30 seconds.
Yes, again, housing is a major component. However, not every building can be converted to housing. And by the way, we are 5 to 10 years too late for this conversation. We need visionary leadership that's going to use these spaces for different uses right now. We can't afford to wait for tax credits and other individuals to come and bail us out. We have to do it ourselves and think outside of the box so we can use those spaces for other things than just one. We're not going to convert every building to housing. We have to have outside the box thinking to do it.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, let's get specific on immigration. Pittsburgh's population, as you well know, is older than most regions and less diverse than many. What do you make, Mr. O'Connor, to you first, what do you make of the current number of foreign-born residents in Pittsburgh, and what will you do about it?
As I mentioned in an answer before, we need to welcome people to Pittsburgh. In the South Hills alone, last year, 40 companies were started by immigrants to our region. We have to continue to be welcoming to residents that want to live in Pittsburgh. We know we're going to have the NFL draft next year, and I can guarantee you, and everybody out there can guarantee you what that commercial is going to be. It's going to be a highlight of the Steelers. It's going to be, ketchup bottles, Permane Brothers, an old steel mill. That's not selling Pittsburgh to the world. If I'm mayor, I want a commercial talking about the immigrants that were here, selling the new Pittsburgh, talking about technology and the affordability that we are going to build so that we can sell Pittsburgh to the world, not just to our region. That hasn't been working. We have to take an initiative that everybody is welcome in Pittsburgh, but not only that, that everybody is going to be safe and protected in our city. And that's the #1 thing that we have to do, especially next year when we're going to be on the world stage.
Mayor Gainey, what do you make of the current number of foreign-born residents in Pittsburgh, and what will you do about it?
We have to continue to become a welcoming city. I've been saying this from day one. And there's a couple things that we've done to be able to demonstrate that. I have the most diverse administration city government has ever seen because I want people to be seen. If they can't be seen, they don't believe that their culture exists here. So it's extremely important that they get seen. Secondly, we created the International Day Parade because we wanted to be able to march through the city all the beautiful ethnic groups that now live in this city. We want people to see them. That's extremely important because if people see that people where they come from are here, then they'll want to be here. After every naturalization ceremony, I made sure that I was there and I talked to them about making Pittsburgh their home. We have to recruit. We made sure that when, everything was going wrong and everything was caught up at the federal government, we worked with our immigration community to make sure that the paperwork was right, to make sure that they knew where their resources was. Because at the end of the day, I want them to feel welcome. That's what a mayor does, not talk about it, be about it.
Mr. O'Connor, rebuttal?
Yes, I mean, when I was on council, we started those programs. We've always welcomed people to Pittsburgh, and that's how you're going to grow our city again. Pittsburgh is a welcoming city, and we just need a leader at the top that's going to not only say it and talk about the rhetoric that we always hear for the last 4 years, but actually go to those companies that were started. Ask them how they can expand. Ask them if they know other people that are interested in using our vacant space and vacant lots in Pittsburgh so that they can bring new residents to Pittsburgh, and we're not doing enough of that.
Final word on this subject, Mayor Gainey.
You know, again, to my opponent, that's just not true. We created the International Day Parade. We created it because we wanted people to be able to walk through the city to demonstrate how many different ethnic cultures that we have here. We made sure that we marched from the city county building down to Market Square. Why? Because there we can have an opportunity to celebrate different cultures. We've always been a city of immigrants, always. And we have to continue if we're going to improve our population. But people have to see their culture in your city to believe.
All right, our time for questions, unfortunately, is up. It's time now for the candidates' closing statements. The order was determined earlier by coin toss. Mr. O'Connor, you go first, and you have 90 seconds.
No luck. I always lose the coin toss. But I want to thank KDKA, thank Mayor Gainey for being here. And Pittsburgh, we have a choice in front of us. We can continue down a path of managing our decline, going to under 300,000 people, not being transparent about the financial crisis that we are headed for. That financial crisis is going to impact each and every one of us each and every day. It's going to stop our ability to fill in your potholes. It's going to stop our ability to buy new ambulances and equipment for our public safety to keep you safe. We have a crisis, but we can solve it. We have the tools in this city to fix this problem. I worked with council members to get us out of Act 47. I have 11 years experience in city government, 3 years experience as your county controller. And we need a leader who's going to take responsibility and be proactive to solve our problems. I've put forth a vision for growth and opportunity, and it's all around us, Pittsburgh. We have the ability to create new jobs, help our small businesses expand, bring new businesses to Pittsburgh, create generational wealth and opportunity in each and every neighborhood. We have to build more housing of all types so that we can ensure that our residents have the ability to stay in their homes, but also live in each and every community in Pittsburgh. And I did it when I supported the Housing Opportunity Fund. And lastly, I believe having a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old at home, Pittsburgh should be every family's first choice, and we have to invest in our future. And so I ask on May 20th for your vote so that we together can rebuild our city again.
Thank you. Mayor Gainey, your turn. You have 90 seconds.
KDKA, I want to thank you for having me today. I want to thank each one of you for providing the opportunity to answer the questions. Listen, you heard it directly, so let me be clear with this. You heard my opponent say that the fleet, that the police, that affordable housing all decreased when he was on council. That's the level of leadership that we've been dealing with for decades that have put us behind in ensuring that we don't have the city that we need to have. Let me tell you what we've done since I've taken office. 146 delivered units of affordable housing, 150 first-time homeowners, mainly women, out of poverty and giving them a chance to understand generational wealth. The land bank, 160 properties we moved out of the land bank. When I took over, the land bank hadn't moved no properties. They created a land bank and they couldn't move it because of the state law. We went to the state and we got it changed. My opponent knows that. He was on council. On top of that, first time ever the police got a contract in over 20 years. Opened up the academy and started recruiting more police officers. Made sure that homicides is down by over 33%, gun violence by 45%. Continue to invest in our communities to make sure that we're building new affordable housing. 12 low-income tax credit deals in two funding cycles. Fixing bridges. No more of our bridges is in failing condition. This is why I'm asking for your vote. On May 20th, vote for Ed Gainey, and let's continue to build a city that we can be proud of, a city for all. Vote for Ed Gainey on May 20th. Thank you, and God bless Pittsburgh.
On behalf of everyone at KDKA-TV, our thanks to the candidates and to you for joining us. Primary Election Day is May 20th. KDK will, of course, have live team coverage as the results come in that night. Lisa Smith, John Shumway, our producers and crew, thank you all. I'm Ken Rice. See you on the news.